So a million stories and a million reviews and a million analysis or analysi of Blade Runner have been done, but today I'm going to talk about a very interesting subcategory of the movie. Screenplay was being worked on for years, optioned by many people. Martin Scorsese was interested in making Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but when the movie was being cast, it got kind of freaky. Because what the creators wanted to do, they wanted to age Deckard to a certain point where I don't think any young woman under the age of 30 would want to see the movie. Now, casting a film proved troublesome. Excuse me. Particularly for the lead role of Deckard. Screenwriter Hampton Fancher envisioned Robert Mitchum as Deckard and wrote the character's dialogue with Mitchum in mind. According to production documents, several actors were considered for a role, including Gene Hackman, Sean Connery, Jack Nicholson, Paul Newman, Clint Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Imagine doing the narration, I'm not a Blade Runner. Peter Falk, Nick Nolte, Al Pacino, and Burt Reynolds. Director Ridley Scott and the film's producers spent months meeting and discussing the role with Dustin Hoffman, who eventually departed over differences of vision, probably differences in height. Harrison Ford was ultimately chosen for several reasons, including his performance in the Star Wars films. Ford's interest in the Blade Runner story and discussions with Steven Spielberg, who was finishing Raiders of the Lost Ark at the time with him, and strongly praised Ford's work in the film. Following success in those two films, Ford was looking for a role with dramatic depth. Now, Rutger Hauer was cast as Roy Batty, the violent yet thoughtful leader of the replicants. Scott cast Hauer without having met him based on his performances in Paul Verhoeven's movies that Scott had seen. Katie Temple, Soldier of Orange, and Turkish Delight. Hauer's portrayal of Batty was regarded by Philip K. Dick as the perfect Batty, cold, airy, and flawless. Of the many films Hauer made, Blade Runner was his favorite. In a live chat in 2001, he said Blade Runner needs no explanation. It just is. All of the best. There is nothing like it. To be part of a real masterpiece which changed the world's thinking, it's awesome. Hauer rewrote his character's Tears and Rain speech himself and presented the words to Scott on set prior to filming. Now, Blade Runner used a number of then lesser-known actors. Sean Young, who was very luminous at the time, portrays Rachel, an experimental replicant implanted with the memories of Tyrell's niece, causing her to believe she is human. Neither Axelrod auditioned for a role. Fancher originally wrote the role for his then-girlfriend, Barbara Hershey. Daryl Hannah portrays Priss, a basic pleasure model replicant. Stacey Nelkin auditioned for the role, but was given another part in the film, which was ultimately cut before filming. Now, Debbie Harry turned down the role of Priss. Can you imagine? That would have been a great performance. Casting Priss and Rachel was challenging, requiring several screen tests with Morgan Paul playing the role of Deckard. Paul was cast as Deckard's fellow bounty hunter Holden based on his performances in the tests. Brian James portrays Leon Kowalski, a combat and labor replicant, and the great Joanna Cassie portrays Zora, an assassin replicant who basically was working with fake snakes. Edward James Olmos portrays Gaff. Olmos drew on diverse ethnic sources to help create the fictional city-speak language his character used in the film. I guess there was an aspect of Japanese, German, Spanish, French, different languages. His initial address to Deckard at a noodle bar is partly Hungarian and means horse dick bullshit. No way, you are the Blade Runner. Edward Walsh, a great character actor, portrays Captain Bryant, a rumpled, hard-drinking, and underhanded police veteran typical of the film noir genre. Joe Turkel portrays Dr. Eldon Torrell, a corporate mogul who built an empire and genetically manipulated humanoid slaves. William Sanderson was cast as J.F. Sebastian, a quiet and lonely genius who provides a compassionate yet compliant portrait of humanity. J.F. sympathizes with the replicants, who he sees as companions, and he shares their shorter lifespan due to his rapid aging disease. Joe Pantalano had early been considered for a role. James Hong portrays Hannibal Chu, an elderly geneticist specializing in synthetic eyes, and Hyde Pike portrayed the sleazy bar owner Taffy Lewis. In a single take, something almost unheard of with Scott, whose drive for perfection resulted at times in double-digit takes. Now, the big character that a few people talk about was the flying car. It's called a spinner. A spinner can be driven as a ground-based vehicle and take off vertically, hover, and crews much like vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. They are used heavily by the police as patrol cars in the Blade Runner universe, and wealthy people can also acquire spinner licenses. The vehicle was conceived and designed by Sid Mead, who described the spinner as an aerodyne, a vehicle which directs air downward to create lift, though press kits for the film stated that the spinner was propelled by three engines, conventional internal combustion, jet, and anti-gravity. A spinner is on a permanent exhibit at the Science Fiction and Fantasy Hall of Fame in Seattle, Washington. Mead's conceptual drawings were transformed into 25 vehicles by automobile customer Gene Winfield. At least 2 were working ground vehicles, while others were lightweight mock-ups for crane shots and decoration for street shots. 2 of them ended up at Disney World Orlando, but were later destroyed, and a few others remained in private collections. So all the characters together, the movie itself, ladies and gentlemen, it flows very smoothly. And if you take it as science fiction or if you take it as film noir, you can work in every category. Well, what really freaked me out, ladies and gentlemen, was the budget of this. It barely got back its investment at the box office. $30 million. Now, the Ladd Company stepped in with some heavy money, the Shaw Brothers, and the Blade Runner partnership. Now, the idea about this, Jordan Cronenworth, the biggest draw of Blade Runner is the cinematography because it's that good. But the screenplay by Hampton Fancher and David Peoples, again, there's plot holes and there's different situations. And when the distributors or Scott decided in a narration, I saw the narrated version at the theaters. But having a narration for the movie, it's putting it more into film noir territory because film noir, most major film noir movies has narration built in. You look at Double Indemnity, you look at DOA. Now, when it was released at 1,290 theaters in June '82, the date was chosen by Ladd because his previous highest-grossing films, Star Wars and Alien, had a similar opening date, which was May 25th in 77 and 79, making the 25th of the month his lucky day. Blade Runner grossed reasonably good ticket sales his opening weekend with 6 million. Now this is you cannot believe the summer of '82. Yeah, The Thing, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, Conan, and E.T. So they were battling against a lot of stuff, and to say they were the weakest of those movies is not a negative. Blade Runner's a 3-star movie, but the other ones were 4. Now, several versions of Blade Runner has been shown. The original work print version was shown in Denver and Dallas. The work print was shown as a director's cut in 1990 as well. Now, 2 versions were shown in film's '82 theatrical release: the U.S. version, known as the original version domestic cut, and the international cut known as a Criterion edition, which included more violent scenes. Now, the narration really pissed off a lot of people because the critics, even though they loved the movie, they said it's considered misunderstood when it first hit the theaters. The influence of Ridley Scott's mysterious neo-noir Blade Runner has deepened with time, which it is. But when it came out of the block, ladies and gentlemen, a term that came out was future noir, which has kind of been used every once in a while to describe science fiction in the future or science fiction movies. Now, all I can say, when I saw Blade Runner, I didn't really know what I was watching because it's a movie. It's like Shakespeare. There's a depth to it. But when I go back to Blade Runner, and the heavy spoilers have done a breakdown of that, there's a lot of shit going on in the movie because, it reads like a graphic novel. Like, graphic novels weren't really conceived or popular back then, but influenced the graphic novel style of comic books. So I think Blade Runner, in a lot of ways, and this is bizarre to say, there was no Blade Runner toys, like Star Wars or Planet of the Apes or whatever. But if you're a Blade Runner fan, there's something for you in there. It's a romance, it's a film noir, it's a mystery, it's basically a look at the future, it's a look at climate change. Is one of the first movies to really talk about the impact of climate change in the modern society, and product placement too as well. You'll look at New York and Tokyo and different places, massive product placement. There's a lot of shit going on here. And Will we be living with replicants down the road? Well, you got AI now, who knows? But Blade Runner, whatever version, you're looking at 3 stars out of 4. But I still don't understand the strippers with hockey masks. That really freaked me out. So, ladies and gentlemen, whatever version of Blade Runner, all 17 or whatever you watch, please enjoy. Just a little bit of background in the movie, the cast as well. It's too bad Corey Hart wouldn't have done the sequel to Blade Runner, because Corey Hart and Harrison Ford were replicants of each other, if you know what I'm talking about. But Harrison Ford at the time was the hottest actor probably we saw since John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. He was that hot. And later on, Witness, Presumed Innocent, and all that. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing with our Screenshots podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.